Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Channel. I'm Darren, and today I'm going to do something just a little bit different. Like always, I'm going to make some beef shanks, Osso Buco style. I'll be right back.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter, sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Alright guys, I don't think I've ever done a cook this complicated before on the channel, but it's really not that complicated. If you've ever cooked Osso Buco before or ate it, it's not really an overly complicated dish. It's just takes couple different cooking methods. Usually it's braised, but I'm going to cook it sous vide style. And instead of using veal shanks, which are usually kind of 1.5 to 2 inches thick and a little long shank, I'm just going to use these beef shanks that I got from Crowd Cow from Long Story Farms. They're actually really nice marbled, got a nice bit of marrow in there, but this is what I'm going to use. So they're not it's not really veal Osso Buco. This is beef shanks that we're going to do Osso Buco style. And what I mean by that is we're going to make an Osso Buco style sauce to go in the bag to kind of braise them in the bag. So first thing I got to do is I got to get these out of the packs, and I'm going to sear them. I'm going to season them up and sear them. I am going to pre-sear. It's about the only time I would pre-sear my meat for cooking in sous vide, and the reason is because we're going to braise these in the sous vide bag with all the sauce that we're going to make for it. So I want to get that sear beforehand. I'm not going to have a chance to sear it after I take it out. So pretty much when we get it out of the bag, we're just going to be able to serve it right up and eat it. So let me get these out of the bag, show you how I'm going to season them. I'm going to sear them up. Be right back. All right, before I get these seared up, I'm going to go ahead and get my pan going here. But I'm going to season these up a little bit. And I'm going to use the Atlanta Grill Company's garlic and herb seasoning. You can use any kind of seasoning you want, but I'm going to use this. It's got some salt, pepper, garlic, and just a light coat. Because really, the seasoning from the sauce is what's going to season this stuff up. But this is just something to get it started. So just a little bit on each side. Then we're going to let it sit here for a minute while the pan comes up to temp to sear. Then I'm going to put it back on the pan and just kind of let it rest until I get my sauce done. I'm going to use the same pan to make the sauce that I'm searing in, so I can get some of those juices from the sear into the meat. Just so you know, there you go. So that's the meat seasoning right there. I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'm going to show you what I'm going to make the sauce out of. And right here I've got 2 cans of diced tomatoes. I drained a little bit of the tomato juice off of them. I've got about 1.5 cups of chopped celery. And I've seen different ways of making this. Some people like to make the carrot, celery, and onions in bigger chunks. I like mine a little bit finer dice so that they can meld in with the sauce. So I got about 1.5 cups celery. I got about 5 cloves of garlic here that I chopped up fine. 1.5 cups of carrots cut up, and about 1.5 cups of onion. I'm going to use some Italian seasoning, kosher salt, some crushed red pepper, and a little bit of beef broth. I don't want to use too much of that because I still want this sauce to be kind of thick when it comes out. And remember, it's going to be cooking in the bag with those shanks, and that's going to render out some of the juice and fat from the shanks. So I don't want to make this very wet going into the bag, because it's going to render down and not lose any moisture in the bag. So it's going to be a lot more wet when it comes out. So I want it to go pretty thick when we go in. So all right, I think my pan's just about ready for the sear. I'm going to go over there, get these seared up, and we'll be right back. All right, I got my pan all heated up. I got a little bit of olive oil in there. I'm going to put all my shanks in. I'm going to add just about a pat of butter in there as well, just to kind of give it a little bit more fat. I'm just going to get these nice and seared up. It doesn't matter if they cook too long, so I just want to get a nice color on them before they go in the bag. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright guys, these are about seared good enough for me. Let's see how they're doing there. Got a nice little bit of Maillard reaction there, a little bit of brown. That's what I'm looking for. Put just a little bit more on that side. Then we're going to take these out. And I'll show you how we're going to do the sauce. Alright, after I removed the shanks from the pan, I went ahead and added about a half a stick of butter, let that melt, and then I tossed in my carrots, onions, celery, garlic, and I'm going to let them soften up some. I also tossed in my Italian seasoning, the salt, pepper, and red pepper flakes, and I'm just going to let them soften up some before I start adding the tomatoes in. So usually just make sure that they're cooking. If you need to add a little bit more butter or any kind of fat, you can, but usually you don't need to. Once they get broken down, you can start adding in your tomatoes, and I like to mush the tomatoes up a little bit more with a spatula because I want this to kind of break down and mix in really well together. I don't want big chunks of tomato or big chunks of carrots or something, so I kind of want it to meld in really good for a sauce. So just make sure you spoon in a little bit at a time so it gets incorporated real well. Like I said, I may add a little bit of beef stock or I may not, depending on how thick or thin this comes out. I don't want a very thin sauce going into the bag because there won't be any evaporation at all, and the meat is going to render fat and juices as well. So, all right, I'm going to mix this up, and I'll be right back to show you what we're going to do next. Okay guys, I know some of you might have caught it, but I forgot an ingredient that is usually in Osso Buco, and it's wine. Usually I guess they use white wine, but I like red wine, and since it is beef and red wine goes well with beef, I'm going to put about a quarter cup of red wine in the sauce. So let me just put that in there. We're going to cook this down for a minute or so. See how it comes out. I still might add some of that beef broth if it's too thick. Let me let this go for another couple minutes and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm going to do my first bag, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just 2 shanks in each bag because I don't want to overfill it, and I can fit 2 shanks in each one of my chamber bags really easy. Here, so I'm gonna get this dirty, and I'm just going to spoon this. You see how thick this is now? And remember, what's going to happen is this fat and juices are going to render from the meat in the bag, and none of this moisture is actually going to be able to evaporate out. So I don't want this really wet going in. I'm going to put about half of the mixture in each bag. That's about enough. All right. There's my first bag. Let's make sure it doesn't leak out. All right, I'm back. It's been 24 hours. I got some fresh broccoli steaming up. Got some pasta going. That's going to be our side dishes today. I'm going to go ahead and take these awesome looking Osso Buco style beef shanks out of the sous vide, and I'm going to put them right on this platter here, and that's how we're going to kind of dish this out. I know they're going to be falling apart. It's going to be kind of have that sauce all over it, so I'll be right back after I put it on the platter for you. All right, guys, we'll take a look at that. I did have to spoon just a little bit. There was a nice amount of fat on top, so I did have to spoon some of that off. But take a look at it. It smells amazing, but you can tell the meat is just pull right apart. It's just falling right apart. I did 175, 24 hours. Get some of those tomatoes and take a bite of this. That's amazing. I'm going to put some of this right over the pasta and put a little bit of the juice on it. And that's going to be amazing. Take another bite real quick. You guys got to try this. If you've never made it, you can do it with veal. You can do it with pork shank. You can also do it with beef shank like I did right here. And also remember, you got the bone marrow in here, which is always good to put on some bread, but I'm going to take a little bite out of it by itself. Check it out, guys. Pork shank or beef shanks, Osso Buco style. Check it out. Check them out on Crowd Cow. Look down below. You can get a $15 or $25 off your first order from Crowd Cow by using the code Fire and Water. But check it out. Make sure you try this. All right, make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Check us out on the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast, and I'll see you again on the next Fire and Water Cooking video. Thanks for joining. I'm going to go eat this up.